All right, welcome. We're back again for the third time. How I work on material, how I do material. In this installment, I will show you how I range, trim down, compose, whatever you want to call it, a track. And since that is going to be a pretty fast explanation, I wanted to tack on how I conceptualize a song, which in this case means giving it a cool song title and also having it kind of fit into what my current inspiration is. But we'll get there when we get there. Still working on this disco track. I talked about the guitar parts, and I showed a bit of them previously, but that was the last recorded bit, as in like the instruments used. Before those were added, let me just mute the guitar. I could pull back this file here and show you what was originally recorded in the place where the guitars are right now. I'm not going to be running any of the sound through the desktop. You're going to be hearing my speakers. You're also going to hear how I like to mix and arrange at low volumes, not just for ear fatigue, but also for when it's really quiet. You could really hear when something is standing out too much. Like when the bass is too burly, or the hi-hat's just going crazy, it's too loud. When a track gets really quiet, you can really tell the arrangement. So it's much easier to pick out if these frequencies are popping out too much, or if there's too much reverb, too much delay. So yeah, mix at low volumes with a speaker. I'm sure low volumes with headphones works as well. Not much of a headphone guy. Not for listening to music and not for mixing music. I just don't like having something on my head. And I feel hearing sound go through at least some amount of air. Sounds cooler. Sounds better. I'll use headphones to track sometimes when I want to do a bass line or a guitar part. More often than not, I'll use headphones then. But yeah, no, I mix on speakers. This tiny Marley portable speaker. It's not an official monitoring system, but it works well enough. If music sounds good through it, you can make your music sound good through it. You just gotta start developing what you want to hear, or what it is that you're hearing that you like. And that could come from arranging. It could come from knowing what you want, like mid-range or bass-wise. How much top end you want. I was doing some of that. I was doing some of that kind of mixing, and I found out that I didn't want so much high end on the drums. So I kind of like carved out some right here. This is the frequency spectrum in the EQ from low to high. You can see here I dug out a huge amount just because randomly the tape recorder I was using started generating a lot of noise on this part of the recording, so I kind of wanted to pull some of that back. I was also kind of leaning really into the hi-hat, and I tend to not be worried about making the drums too dull, because when it goes into the delay or the reverb, it kind of gains a bit of that nice high end. In this case, without all the hiss or the harsh. I did that with the guitars as well because they were pretty gnarly. Recorded DI with a slathering of effects, fuzzed out. It was a little gnarly. But in this case, I didn't have to pull back as much. Just because in this case, in the guitar case, you don't want to pull back too much treble because it does take away from the good sound. So find the happy medium of sounding good and not being ear-shattering. You could hear that difference as well when you mix low. If you're getting ear fatigue when you're listening low or lowish, you gotta pull back some of the post 30K or post 3K frequencies. Gotta look around there. But yeah, let me show you how it's going. I got the mastering going here. So the track's sounding pretty close to how it is in the end. I'm gonna keep tweaking, aka micro mixing, which is called nowadays. And I could spend maybe a week on this, maybe take a break and then come back and spend a few more days. But with this composition, it's not so complicated. I don't have to do a lot. This might be wrapped up within the week. But here's what I got. Here's what I had. I'm gonna ship into the arranging mode. The recording stuff. I went into this track without any idea. Some would say with this series, I'm doing everything out of order. Typically, you record with a song in mind, with a concept in mind already. I just wanted to fuck around and make something out of nowhere, or make something, or develop something. Kind of like I do with my painting or abstract painting. But yeah, when I was getting my ideas, I just recorded throughout the whole track. In this case, being that weird droney sound. Sounds cool, kind of liked it. But when I was doing some more fucking around with the guitar this time, I came across some parts. Oh, these are cool. I want to have these at the start of the song. But I found that they kind of clashed with the guitar, which is a frequent thing you gotta watch out for with arrangement. Yes, you do want to put as many cool sounds or instruments in there as you want, but having too many layered on top of each other cannot. Well, it's very rare that it will sound good. It's got to be very well. It's got to be arranged more masterly, with more foresight. In my case, the weird synths kind of clashed a bit too much with the guitar. Similar frequencies. It was the same signal chain, so maybe that did not help. I'm sure you could find a synth to go under this chaotic guitar part and have it work, but not in this case. Okay, let me show you how that would have sounded. Alright, so I'm kind of thinking to myself right now, that kind of sounds good. You know, and I can leave it like that for the whole minute length of the song, but I think what I was thinking is I wanted to add some variety. So let me just undo some of the stuff here. Resizing it. Yeah, that's where I had it. I had to come in midway, just to add some variety to the track. This is how it sounds. You can see how the guitar kind of sounds similar. There's a fuzz guitar in there. It's kind of hard to hear. It does follow the bass guitar a bit. I mean the bass part. That's a synth. So I just kind of add some movement to the track. I mean, it's so short that you can have it where everything's going on at the same time. To be honest, it doesn't sound that bad. I might pull that synth part back. Let's see. I have this kind of like warbly synth going on here. I think I'll keep that over here. Oh yeah, it's just one of the notes from the keyboard part just played on a higher octave and by itself. Let's see how that sounds here. Let me try the single note part. Sounds a bit too busy. Okay. Yeah, that sounds cool. More variety. You can hear the guitar part. One of them has that warbly kind of thing going. There's that fuzz part. It's got some delay on there too. It's kind of doubling the bass part, but this kind of sound gets drowned out by other instruments pretty easily, unless this sound is like the main thing. But there's so much in terms of a treble already that having like this buzzing in there. Be too loud would be annoying. So just kind of doubles the bass part, add some meat. Yeah, kind of like a guitar riff. This guitar part isn't that important. What is that crazy high-end part. It's kind of psychedelic. I'm gonna have to try this signal chain into an amplifier, because it sounds pretty good. Usually in a chain I'll be like distortion first and then all the weird effects. But having all the weird effects going crazy into the fuzz box, it kind of like blends everything together, makes it really cool. And for a few years now, I haven't been too crazy on pedals, even the ones I use, just for these weird sounds. But for a guitar, it's typically maybe one or two. Now, for some of my more recent solo sounds, zero pedals, just a preamp that's kind of a like outlet powered, and a compressor, which is also, you know, it's got the block, 9-volt block, inside the amplifier. And that compressor's not a pedal either. Either it's a like dedicated compressor, like a starter, or a kind of a cheaper beginner's studio compressor, but it's still pretty nifty. And my philosophy with that is just getting a great saturated sound going, and doing the effects in the box, so to say. Though this might change my mind. Something about playing into effects is very inspiring, and you don't got to hear that from me. That's a pretty obvious assessment. These little machines are very cool. Just rediscovering the magic of them with guitar. It's a fun process. Where were we? Okay. Yeah, arrangement. This track here, I don't think I'll add anything more. I think I might listen to it a few more times before I decide I don't want to take anything out either. I was thinking maybe a part here without the synth bass might be cool, because it goes for the whole song pretty much, as does the fuzz guitar accompaniment. So maybe having like a section in there where you only hear the fuzzy part might be cool, and then when the bass comes back in, there's some energy right there. I gotta pee real quick. I'll let you hear the track here on loop. I was thinking the drums have a bit too much. I think it might be a reverb. Let me just hear it, but actually I could single out the delay and reverb buses by themselves and get an idea. Maybe a bit too much there. Yeah, because the recording of the drums already has a lot of room sound. Because I recorded in my garage with the one microphone, a condenser mic on a cheap tape recorder. So it's not going to need a lot of reverb or delay. It's going to sound too affected, too weird. At least for my ear. Okay, that's a lot. Yeah. Let's hear that one more time, but with everything going. Alright, a bit more tamed. That's the bass line without the guitar part, the fuzzy guitar part. It does add a lot of meat to the bass part. I mean, I could go in on this synth part and add some bass in there. That might be fine. Might be a little uneven, but you could get away with it. But in this case, doubling it kind of makes it a bit more interesting, a bit more rich. Have some fuzz in there without expecting the fuzz to sound like the top end of this bass part. This synth part, it's a keyboard, like I keep iterating. But I want to look for a part here that has this part cut out and then come back in. Let's go through it one more time. This part of the process until the end requires a lot of listening to it all the way through, taking a break, listening multiple times again, taking a day's break, coming back to it, listening. At least in my case, just so I know the choices that I made the day before are like solid. And when I reach the point where I'm just listening to it to listen to it, have no ideas, don't want to tweak anything, that's when I know it's ready to shelve. But yeah, one more time. Right here, there already is a break in the part, which when I record something, even though I'm just trying to find something, if I find something good, I'm gonna try to throw in a little variation in there. Most tracks will have some more parts. This is pretty much just a one drum beat, one bass part, one melody with a bunch of strange parts over it. But for more thorough composition that goes into 3 minutes or more, I'll be looking for different melody parts, changing the bass part, drum part, just to keep things interesting. I wouldn't have something this simple go on for 3 or 4 minutes. And definitely not static with everything going at the same time. So even though this track is not that long, it's going to be 1 minute 38 seconds. Excuse me. Even though it's not that long, I could kind of give that same illusion of a lot of stuff happening, some movement occurring. Because all in all, this song doesn't, like, this song could leave you with like, oh, that could have gone somewhere. But I like songs like that, 18 Karat Affair, Lamborghini Crystal, Residence. They kind of like go from being songs to being like just standalone pieces. It's got song qualities, but it's more of a artistic thing. We live in a world of gay music, lobby music. We're not so we are used to something that kind of loops like this and doesn't have like a song progression like the Beatles or Stevie Wonder. Even though their progressions aren't like standardized. Like they'll have like bridges, post-bridge, stuff that kind of takes you away from the main part in a very satisfying and surprising way. No. Okay, somebody came. I love songwriters. I wish I could like have the focus to write like that, and I might in the future. But when you just want to get something out, I want to record something, I want to work on something. This kind of small song, this kind of piece is good for that. It's good for inspiration too. If you want to write a more complete song, something like this will definitely help you kickstart it or get like 30% of the way there. If you have this part, maybe you could add 2 more parts, a solo section. Well, I would. Lyrics, I'm not big on lyrics, but if you have lyrics, you don't have to go that crazy on the parts. You can make one part last a bit more. Okay, let's see how this subtraction worked out. Let me bring back the fuzz here. It's not that good. Let me try the opposite of that. Let's try a bit of a time. Let's drop out the fuzz guitar for a bit, because it's obviously going the entire time. I think right here would be good. When the bass does that small variation right there. Let's see where can it come in. Right there is kind of cool. Because right here, the bass and the guitar kind of trade the dun dun dun. Where the guitar starts it off, but the bass kind of holds off on it, so it's dun 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 between the bass and that guitar part. Variation. Let's see how it sounds here. Maybe have the ending be a little tighter. I don't really want that synth part to hold out like that. That's too much. Gonna be pretty instantaneous here. Wait, what part is it? Oh, okay. Wrong part. Okay. I've actually got like I think 3 songs at this point that are kind of like this length and composed in this way. I was thinking I might string them together as movements. I did something like that on the last EP, where I strung together 2 tracks, and in that one it was 2 movements. It was sulfur ray embrittlement and oxygen statue, and they were both part of the track Flashover of Mercury. So I'm thinking something like that would be cool here. Classical style naming motifs, even though there's no classical in my music. There is arrangement, and there are some moments of flashover where it's like, huh, this is well, it's not punk. It's definitely not rock or pop. And the strange dissonant melodies I like to use are kind of a modern classical. So it could be a new type of classical that doesn't use the sounds. A classical, no strings, no no choir. Piano would still be cool, but we have this whole new 200 years of timbres. And I think they could be used for arranging something cool, doing new things. Okay. But yeah, that sounds cool with the fuzz cutting out and then coming back in. I'm thinking if I really need it, I might add something to the last half of it. Just something to make it a bit more worth the listener's while. Though it is a nice groovy ditty, you just want to hear over and over again. Down, 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 down. But yeah, I'll most likely keep micro mixing this. I'll vary the levels of stuff sent into the delays here. Actually, let me show you how the track sounds without any of the processing that I've been using, including the mastering. So here's the track. There's none of the reverb or delay, which don't make that big of a difference, mostly on the upper spectrum. But what makes a big difference is the mastering. Check this. Yeah, and I barely have the limiter to go in. I got some pitch shifting in there in the mastering as well, because it kind of sounded good 2 notes down, or whole tone. But yeah, mastering is for loudness. The delays and reverb are kind of for the 3D quality, the detail, because it gets a little muddy by itself. The drums and the bass kind of like overpower, and as you saw, I have very little drums in those effects, no bass at all. A little bit of that guitar part, but that has enough high end to justify it. Doesn't get too muddy, or actually, I was noticing it was kind of muddy in there, the fuzz. So maybe it might be good to only have the effects on the lead guitar part. And maybe something lighter. Because even though these two are in the same group, I could have individual effects on them, like I have individual EQ, the high end for the muddiness. One more time. Just has too much high end, too much treble. It's a bad thing about fuzz. Oh, the problem is that there's already some distortion on the bass part here. Maybe I could go in and I could maybe take out some of the competing bass frequencies just so it's not so drowned out. It could allow some of the bass from the distorted guitar to come through, but that might not be feasible. I might just drop that part eventually. Who knows? Let's see how it sounds. First, we gotta find the sound. You can mess with the shape of this thing, wider, bigger. Kind of get a mid size here, so you could drag it around and find the frequencies that are offending, or get an idea of them. Well, it's nice because it adds to the chaos of the track. It makes everything kind of like melds into the bass, melds into the guitar, the keyboard in a nice way. So I might keep it in there just for that light effect, that overdriven, like compressed kind of sound. But I think that's about it for the composing, or what I would do. Everything else is micro mixing, which is a mix of what I was doing and what I did in the last video, up until there's nothing left. But what I also wanted to do was show you my ideas for what I want for this. I kind of want to follow the theme I kind of picked up with the last EP. As you know, I've been listening to a whole bunch of James Ferrara, namely the lo-fi stuff. And something about his interpretations of like Terminator or dystopic mechanical future are kind of interesting. Kind of like inspired certain ideas from me, like maybe at least for the last EP, like schizo mechas or a VR prison. The horrors of customization. And at least for this particular case, I did take some inspiration from the coming planetary transitions of Neptune into Gemini, Uranus into Aries. So it's kind of throwing around the ideas or correlations between Mercury and Mars, which kind of lined up really well with my inspirations in this case. That's where a lot of the song titles for the last EP came from, just thinking of heat, molten metal. Gemini doesn't have a whole lot of cool associations besides communication technology, I guess, science, analysis. We could kind of throw in like a bunch of technological associations with Gemini in there, commerce, trade, or kind of like if you want to meld the two together, like the industrial war complex, a very vital economy to the world that is run off of weapons. Kind of like the world that mechas inhabit as well, Neon Genesis. Which, even though I never watched Neon Genesis, I've always known about it. But they have kind of a thing going on, mechas and mental illness, mostly in the people piloting them. I was kind of interested in the idea of I guess, mentally ill AI, tortured AI, or machines with consciousness. Maybe a kind of Power Ranger type deal, but with all the people, all the Rangers being fucked up. Severely deranged people piloting mechas. But yeah, those kind of ideas, That's kind of special for this batch of music, honestly, because typically I'll go with kind of like a Melvin style, or just something weird for the song title that's kind of well, it is meaningless. It's kind of like a light idea for the song. Here's the song. But Ferrara really opened my eyes to conceptualization in a way that wasn't cringe. Like, not in the way that metal does it, or other ambient acts, other noise acts. Which most noise has a lack of aesthetic, a lack of concept. It's mostly just kind of like a punk feel, which is its own aesthetic, its own taste, punk taste, underground. I've discovered that the concept is an interesting part of the artistic process. Putting the names on there, putting the title, the cover. It's something I have been picking up as of late. But yeah, I already have song names that have been kind of... Like when I think of song names, at least for these, it's almost in the same space, mental space, that I would go into when I needed to write poetry for school. And I don't write poetry, I'm not a poetry kind of guy even. But I would kind of go into like a open headspace, or at least try to just kind of like get the juices flowing, of course, figuratively, and just try out various words. Oh, these sound good together. These associations are kind of cool. These are not. It'll help to, of course, get inspiration from movies or games or other art. In my case, oop, that's Howard Stern. Cannot play that. Something that's been just kind of brought my way in terms of inspiration. I gotta thank YouTube for this. Was footage of VR art that was uploaded 13 years ago from a group of people that are fairly established in the art of that. That was very, very useful in terms of actual footage. And sometimes you'll get lucky if you are in the process of doing art like this and searching for something cool. Things will come your way. And something that came my way just a few days ago, maybe yesterday even, were these mid 90s CD-ROM games. Bioforge, Cyber War. Games I never played, by the way. But just like the art and the ideas. This one's about a cyberhuman escaping. This one's also about a cyberhuman trying to get revenge on people. Not just great conceptual ideas, but also the aesthetics of some of this. Very cool. Though I think right now we're approaching a saturation of the revival of turn of the century, turn of the millennium graphics. They're still cool, but I have been seeing them a lot, where the aesthetic is, oh look, remember this? But what the fuck is this, dude? BattleBots too is something I've been keeping in mind for inspiration. Machines for destruction, customized machines for destruction. Machines with personality. And in this case, life and revenge. I kind of feel weird about doing a portion of the video to this because I'm not, like I said, I usually don't conceptualize like this. I'm usually more streamlined, absurdist punk, or like punk kind of attitude to my aesthetic. That's the way it was with my last band. This time I do care a bit about the world kind of portraying, or the world I'm making art in. I'm not gonna do this style forever, or these themes forever. But for the moment, I'm just gonna follow the inspiration. Because for these new batch of songs, I was thinking like, what's gonna be their names, their context, their aesthetic. And right now, I'm still inspired by this, so I'm gonna keep going. Yeah, not that you have to do something like this. You don't have to make a world, you don't have to transport people to a different dimension. You could just do a simple song that's an emotion, a memory, a feeling, love. It could be less abstract and more grounded. But yeah, I was really lucky that the algorithm has been sending me all these beautiful things I never got to watch because of their era. You know, these mid-90s CD-ROMs, early 05 VR, YouTube, fucking strange, obscure animation or video DJ mixes. Rave mixes. And that I have no idea how to teach. I guess you have to kind of curate an algorithm, or even just know what to search. This would have definitely been less inspiring if I didn't have YouTube. That is something to think about. We're wrapping up at about an hour here. That was perfect. I was hoping I didn't go over. But yeah, that's how I arrange, conceptualize. I'll do another one of these, the last one, once I tweak the track a bit. That'll be a shorter one, just so you know. But I feel it would be good just to showcase at least half hour or 20 minutes what I'm looking for, what I'm listening for, how the track looks. Yeah, thank you for watching. Hopefully these inspire you or give you an idea of the flow, so it's not so daunting opening up your software and making something cool. Sometimes it'll feel that way for me. I'll be sitting on my bed and thinking, man, I'm kind of wasting my time here. I should open up the software. But it's also not scary. It's a weird feeling because you get locked in. It locks you in. Even if you don't want to spend hours in there, it'll lock you in. And it is cool and fun, but it is concentration. If you do 2 or 3 hours of mixing, you will be tired. I like to take breaks, go outside. But yeah, I'll even, like after work, I'll even be sitting on my bed after breakfast, after walking the dogs and everything. It's 6, it's 7. I'm thinking, man, I could use that time to do something. But I still have time. Even though I could see my bedtime creeping up. Like an hour in there could be nice. Hour and a half. Like I said, you get locked in, so it doesn't really feel like work. Alright, but happy creating. I'll see you later for the last installment of How I Make. Peace.